Hello everyone. The title of today's episode is An Acknowledgement Beyond Form. Where is your information coming from? This is a question every being needs to ask. When we talk about an acknowledgement beyond form, that is simply what we're suggesting. We are acknowledging reality beyond just its physical consideration. We're saying that the physical consideration is present through a greater vision of the being's ability to be great. And what that means is that the forms that are in your conscious view suggests your intelligence. What you're looking at is suggesting your intelligence because you have come there. You have come to this mode of reality. For your intelligence has in some manner taken all paths to have come to this very moment of being. You are alive now, you are hearing this voice, your breath seems to be a messenger of novelty. And as you breathe the life that you are, the mind of man begins to see that it must create the space for its salvation if it has not allowed itself to do so. Sometimes we walk in society, we go into these social and cultural systems, and the being naturally does not like some of the confrontations that are going on, but at some level, there's an acceptance of a reality that one does not want to change. Externality should not be an hindrance. It should be a catalyst beyond. For as you become aware of the internality that is projecting all senses of externality, you become situated very transcendentally in an awareness where, in a simultaneous manner, the worst views of yourself and the best views of yourself are present because you're seeing the ability is coming from that which is considering, that which is aware. I would like to share a quote by Henry David Thoreau, if I'm pronouncing his name right. And his quote is very vast. He says, "Things do not change, we change." And once you begin to see the nature of change and how reality is not waiting for anything, reality is not even waiting for conception, you begin to see that the nature of this world was not to play in the worlds that we created because we slowed down language, gave it shape, and thought we knew who we were. No, we are an evolving species. We are a transcending consciousness that is constantly realigning itself with what the self knows. And your sense of self has changed. Because I'm pretty sure you're not thinking like when you were 5 years old. You have a total different view now. You have a total different capacity. The things when you were younger which were a hindrance will begin to become simple for you because you are maturing into the complexity of how living is being done. I want you to a moment to really get this concept of an acknowledgement beyond form really in. We need to perhaps draw it out in a new manner. I want you to go get an empty page, empty piece of paper. I want you to get a pen, and as you get this pen, don't hold the pen as if you're holding it from close to the tip. Hold the pen from the middle, halfway middle, like divide it into 50-50 and hold the pen there. And as you hold the pen there, draw a stick figure. As you have drawn the stick figure, now begin to draw a circle around the stick figure. As you draw this circle, you will begin to see that you have created a boundary in which the whole form is kept in the circle. And so this stick figure which we have drawn a circle in can be said playfully to be the human being, and the circle is the moment of awareness. Now I want you to draw another circle around the circle you have drawn. So there's another circle, and it's as if you and keep drawing, draw a few, and you begin to see as you're drawing these concentric circles, I'm just drawing them too as I'm saying it to you right now. You will begin to see that the character is a being who is within a moment, and his awareness is growing into how that moment is more infinite as the finite looks at itself. What you are left with is an intelligent and integrative and simultaneous presence in regards to a 2D confrontation of reality. If you were to look at this picture, if you were to look at this picture, you would see in a 2D manner the individual has so many bigger circles of awareness to extend from, to become bigger and vast. But if you were to consider this in a 3-dimensional manner, you would begin to see it's as if there's a guy stuck at the bottom of a well, and the circles are not bigger one another. The hierarchy is not the definition of the world. And it seems that all these circles that seem to be much bigger and the world seems to be infinite in a 3-dimensional reality, suddenly in that view of how we can see as if that guy's a person in a well, it's cylindrical. All the circles are the same. All these realities which hierarchy is based on in regards to how an individually conscious being navigates in this plane of existence, all are on some level, on some dimension of acknowledgement, hollow, because all circles are the same. And a being who realizes this becomes very playful, because the clarity of the action is coming in the natural expression. So you are not doing anything, and you see that you never could do anything. Life was happening as it is. You are just the grace of this conscious moment. And the beauty of this world is the transcendence within. And it's a very interesting view, because if you were to wonder if you were a person in a well, you will begin to see hope seems to be beyond reach. However, once a being confronts their stillness and silence, immediately they are granted the existential observance of all chaotic and ordered forms within their consciousness. All archetypal symbols, all ideas, all memes, everything that is form is now present in your awareness. And within this clarity of how you are here, you begin to see that there was your conception, that considerations come and go, and we make them our world. We make them the center of our attention. Many yogis, many mystics, many meditators have said, be aware of the nature of attention. Be aware of the nature of consciousness. Be aware that you are life before you are form. For a human being that forgets its being will always see the human idea hollow. We have been keeping ourselves in the dark. Ego and ideology should not be something that should not be the dirt that is accumulated under your shoe as you have taken steps on many paths. It should be the catalyst. It should be the tool. Your individuality should spark collective inspiration. You should look at a leaf and see how it's suggesting everything else other than a leaf. You shall go see the sky and see that it's suggesting everything else that is not above you. Do you see? Reality is integratively playing with itself, and man's interpretation was just too serious. Why do you think they say laughter is the best medicine? For in laughter, the being is remembering in a way where form did not have to be the way it is. And maybe that's why we laugh at jokes. Because what is funny is what is allowed to be seen anew. You are not here to judge a humorous truth. You are here to understand the nature of a paradoxical mind. You're here to acknowledge more than the terms conscious and unconscious. We don't want these words, we don't want these gates to just be closed. We want to explore what reality means. What that means is you right now as a being, regardless of who you are, if you just know a few words, if you just know the basic amount of language, you will see that if you begin writing about your life and writing what your life is, you will realize you have a creative ability to write it in any way you choose. You must see that to some degree the eyes of man are only the eyes of man, but as the eyes of man become aware of all that is present within the moment, interpretation is not present, just like there is no ripple on the pond. And a ripple can occur. Why do you think there was such a focus on meditation? To keep the attention aligned to the purpose of all purpose, the truth of any truth, which is a transcendental direct experience. What that means is, I noticed some interesting stuff. I saw this man, his name was Terence McKenna, and he was talking about this psychedelic phenomena and how it alters consciousness. And I looked at the audience he was speaking to, and I noticed the audience was everyday people. It's just normal people. And I noticed, what is wrong? What is wrong with this world when everyone is just as they are? I noticed it is how we are not willing to confront our emptiness, our existential emptiness. We give life such a value that it seems to be like a sense of arithmetic. Oh, I had life and now, oh, death has come, minus life. You know, it is not a mechanical passage. Because no technology can be greater than the technology of the plane of existence. What that means is the intelligence that is aware of how your form and how this reality is manifest in your view is untouched by any story to even be a character in. You will gracefully, just like a cloth given to you by greater winds, you will take off your name to see that you could have been any name. That names only solidify in how the human being communicates what the human being is. What Mr. Within doesn't like to see is a lot of people who have a lot of ambition, a lot of ability, expecting so much from their world that they're like, gosh, this world's not good. That is ignorance, because this is our land. This is our plane. The pilot of consciousness takes existential responsibility for the worst mistakes of mankind and for the greatest answers of mankind, the greatest solutions of mankind. We take responsibility for all that the human being has done. What that means is when I'm walking around, on some level I am who I am and I am how I've been raised, but on some level I am looking at human beings and learning. Every moment is that blessing of being able to observe the communication that is this life. Become interested, because then you will see that you do not need to be hidden behind pillars that you will never understand how they are holding your foundation. You must exceed your own ideology. You must impress yourself by how much you can entertain ideas, throw them in the air, and break them with lightning that you have borrowed from Zeus. Totality can never be disturbed, because the drops considerations were infinite within the ocean's understanding. And so what that means is that you must gracefully be able to be present and to not have an idea on your ideas. And you must take the responsibility that you are an experiencer. Yes, you are a moment of life. You can go do things. You can go move objects. When I looked at objects, they can't do it. When I looked at animals, only a few advanced chimpanzees could have that much coordination. We have this ability to engage in the world that we can see. Do you see mankind is the species that has got self-awareness to even notice that it's in a beautiful world. Other animals are just like, oh, they don't think like that. They're just part of the world, Self-awareness is the blessing because it is a transcendental platform, and it is that moment where the candle is very gracefully remembering that it is basking in sunlight and that the wax was just a dream. And what that means is the concept of a dream and awakening has been used, but to some degree Mr. Within would like to use it like this. What is to you a dream here is your awakening in a different plane of your abstraction. It's a simultaneous presence. It's something in which that moment where you see that you can be a saint or a sinner, both of them are standing in front of you and you're observing all that you are without image or sound. And it seems that the silence of the world begins to change your ears. Your ears go from being ones that were used to just constantly hearing music, constantly seeing TV, constantly seeing certain media, constantly doing certain things, constantly being in the routine, constantly being in the routine, and suddenly you go in nature and you're there and bam, there's the silence. And this silence comes, and this silence begins to not just enter become your atmosphere, but it also becomes the atmosphere of your thoughts, and many things throughout the day disengage. What that means is if we saw on the surface of the water these orcas jumping around or these humpback whales jumping around, suddenly they have gone into the depths. There's no disturbance but a view that has a beauty which it is so beyond that you will, the only way you see you can know this beauty is because it is within you. It is because you are it. And then you have found the devotion, and perhaps the Dalai Lama and every being who is communicating existential compassion will pat you on the back and say, my friend, you have found the gentler world. Now walk beyond the sight of any of this. Transcendence is now, and your existence is now. Your presence is now. All ideology stand here right now. You are not thinking as if you are a thinker. You are aware of thought, just as how you're aware of a bird that flies right by you. How you're aware of that leaf crumbling under your shoe. For man's inspiration has always come from an ability that could take man to a reality where there was no longer a direction. All directions had been assimilated, absorbed into the center of where the moment originated. And you will begin to see it will be very playful, because you will take off your jacket of space and time and you will begin to just bask in your presence. And it's unspeakable. And you will see, oh, I have been here in a way that I had forgotten. And so you see, this remembrance is the clarity of the ability you have. There is no need for human incapability. There is no need. It's both inefficient, but at the same time unnecessary, and only helpful is if it is catalyzing them. What that means is you don't want to look at suffering too long, because you will eventually see that you can change the channel. And you must see that if mankind is excited, if you have people who like to bungee jump, there's also beings who their bungee jumping is just projecting themselves into realities of intense physical flux, which we as the human society, as our sense of, you know, identity, our collective identity, we as humanity begin to call, you know, the voice of the wind. And if you were to truly see all those concentric circles around that stick figure that you've drawn, in every circle there is an ability to be a presence. What that means is the moment has the body and our individuality as part of it. It's as if we are a collective moment of experience, but the awareness to all objectivity and subjectivity is done in an individual manner, and it's intertwined in the manner that objectivity seems to be coming from subjectivity, but once you're situated in subjectivity, it seems the subjectivity is coming from objectivity. What you will begin to see that it's because the nature of this human apparatus has an ability to simultaneously acknowledge presence and reality. What that means is if I can greet two people at the same time, if I can meet my friends, and it's a bunch of people I'm meeting, I can handle that. I can greet each one of them. So similarly, the being can handle many realities of projection, and you will suddenly see that perhaps in that moment when someone was talking to you, you were thinking about fishing. But then remember that Henry David Thoreau quote, that many men go fishing all of their lives without knowing that it is not fish that they're after. And perhaps there's some wisdom there. It is not truth you're after. Truth is not a fish. You must move beyond all fishiness. You must begin to find the trust that will be the guidance of your natural expression. What that means is, when I was younger, I was thrown in situations of incapability, and I was, in a sense, basking in those moments of what was suffering there for me, but then became wisdom. Because it taught me of the emptiness of reality. That you may choose to smile in this world, but it does not mean that everyone else should smile back. And that is that moment when you begin to see your smile has to come from within. And all smiles that come from within bask in lights beyond space and time, guided by the intuition of the heart of hearts. Mankind will open its eyes to the central sun. We will begin to see the implication of the locality of our planet, suggesting a totally multidimensional experience of the individual. We will see that regardless of how much technology advances, the next technologies are consciousness technologies, where the self-awareness of the being is finding greater ability and is heating up. What that means is if we're boiling water for tea, this water is boiling. These bubbles at the end of the pot are jumping up, are coming up. They're dancing in ecstasy. We're having kids born with great talent. We're having people born fascinating. Gosh, I saw a 6-year-old play piano as if he invented it. He made the piano. Breathe the life that you are. For you may feel you are judged or even stressed, but you do not know the treasures of how you are meant to live in this life. You will go on doing fascinating things that me or no one else will ever know, but you will begin to remember that I walked that walk. I went into the vision, and I dissolved into the greatest experience. Enough of this deception nonsense. Gosh, for how long does man want to work with conspiracies and to create enemies behind doors he cannot find? You must begin to see the doors of your moment. You must begin to see that the world is here to suggest engagement. Back in the day, all seers knew that there was a sense of guidance, that the truth to all truth was, the signs of it was everywhere. Every moment you can realize the nature of your being, which is the same nature of the cosmos. Who separated it? And there you will begin to see the collapse of all these bridges and perhaps these, in quotations, neural networks that made reality tunnels that led to nowhere. From nowhere we shall find ourselves everywhere. And that is the elegance of the consciousness of man. That the presence of what is real basks in the unreal. The presence of that is seen basks in the unseen. And you tell me, is your choice from the choiceless? Or is life transcendental unity? An acknowledgement beyond form is how you are revealing more and understanding more out of your sense of existential intelligence and living. You're updating not your iTunes per se, but you're updating all these, you're looking at yourself, and if you were to look at yourself, you're updating the technologies, many different technologies. For example, your consciousness technology, the technology of how concepts appear to you. What that means is, on a subtler level, we are finding the serenity beyond thought, which suddenly provides a very natural ability to handle thought. Perhaps what an acknowledgement beyond form can suggest is that the reason you can acknowledge beyond form is because you are beyond form. You must study yourself, you must learn from your ways to see that you are the way to all that you can be. I thought when I was younger I just had to clean my room. No, you have to clean up all your ideology. You have to begin to align yourself, and you have to allow yourself to see a greater world, for you are allowing yourself to see a greater self that can be present in such a world. And this must come through sincerity and honesty. There's no greater catalyst for a being who finds himself lost in duality. For the moment is always found, and all bodies bask in the mind that can never be embodied. Like the gentle movement of the butterfly's wings, may you begin to see the flame of a phoenix. Show the meaning of a new renaissance. Burning in divine wonder. For whoever called the sky limitless never needed the word limitless. And we shall see that the wings of that butterfly shall show the gentleness of the ashes in which the phoenix of a new multidimensional renaissance is born. We are not here trying to think of burning wings. There's no reality that could be real, because your fantasy is being kept a fantasy. Do you know that in an instant you can confront whatever idea and make it real for you in your subtler planes? but you do not need to, because you are here to guide yourself to the clarity of the intuition of this world. Your path is going with the resonance of how this world smiles through the eyes of man. Blessings to the individual that knows the collective is found. Much blessings in the state.